Is there audio now? I think there's audio now. That probably fixed it. Yeah, now there's audio, I'm sure. It's technical difficulty. My bad. So I had this whole story. I just told this whole great story and there was no audio. Oh, let me start over. So I've worked at two types of companies. The first type of company where there's a meeting set for 2 o'clock and people start rolling in at 1:59, 2:01, 2:03, and really the meeting starts about 2:05, 2:06. And everybody's okay with that. And I've worked at other companies where somebody sets a meeting for 2 o'clock and that person is in the room at 2 o'clock and they close the door and lock it at 2 o'clock. And if you weren't in that room seated at 2, you missed the meeting. I think both of those are wrong. I think the right thing is people should just show up on time and then the meeting should happen. People that come in late, they get chastised and the company culture encourages them to show up on time. Locking the door and keeping people out, that's, I didn't like that when it was happening. I still don't like it. I did work at one company where every now and then the owner would schedule a meeting and at the time the meeting was supposed to start, say 2 o'clock, he handed out $20 bills to everybody who was seated in the room. And if you came in late, you didn't get any money. That was encouragement. That's one that did it. All right. I guess I've rambled on long enough. We'll take that intermediate ground and we'll start at like 2:02. So this is TechIDManager's PAMcast for October 17th, 2023 at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is our agenda. We're going to go over these things and talk about TechIDManager and privileged account management. I'm 𝗦𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗀. We're going to talk about who I am, why I'm here, talk about PAM, having it your way. We're going to talk about the difference between managed accounts and just-in-time accounts and the pros and cons in TechIDManager. We're going to do some boring product updates. Then we're going to have a Q&A section, and they'll real briefly mention what we're going to talk about next time, which is multi-instancing of the agents that TechIDManager has. So who am I? I'm 𝗦𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗀. I'm the founder, CTO, and CEO of TechIDManager. I founded the company called Ruffian Software in February 2019. We wrote the product TechIDManager, and now we sell privileged account management on 4 continents to lots of people, manage lots of accounts, have rotated lots of passwords. This meeting, this PAMcast, is targeted at existing clients for TechIDManager, people that have seen demos for TechIDManager, and people who have read the website for TechIDManager and know what it's about and know what's going on. So with that target audience, we are going to not do low-level discussions. There's going to be a minimum of salesy stuff, minimum of salesy things. But since I am the founder and CEO of TechIDManager, you will have to forgive me if I switch into a salesy mode and I start doing some sort of salesy thing. If that happens, comment down in the doobly-doos, and the little leprechauns that are in the background and telling me things will tell me I'm being too salesy, and we'll switch back to a more technical mode. This is not intended to be salesy. This is intended to be technical. All right? So if you have any questions at any time during any of this, tell me by putting in the comments. I believe we are on Facebook Live, we are on LinkedIn Live, and we are on YouTube. All 3 of those are streaming. All 3 of those have comments. And I believe that the little minions, gremlins, people off on the side can see all of those, and then they can read them to me, and we'll talk. All right. The minion today is Emily. Emily, I believe, can say hi if she wants.
Hi, guys.
Yep. See, there she is. So that's kind of the introduction. That covers who I am, why we are here. So we'll now move on in real technical, quick, brief manner like I like. We'll move on to have it your way, PAM the way you like it. So started Ruffian Software and wrote TechIDManager with managed persistent accounts for every unique account for every technician everywhere, and that's what we did. We did that just for domains in 2019. We quickly expanded that to include local machines and Azure and did a few other things like that. But in essence, every technician got a unique account everywhere they had it. We still do that today. Everybody's familiar with that. That's what they do. We also do lapse accounts. So we do lapse on steroids. If you have a account you want to take over and share with multiple people, we do that. We also have just recently added just-in-time layering on top of all those types of accounts. So you can get just-in-time accounts for both domain accounts, Labs accounts, Azure accounts, individual accounts on workgroup machines. Our goal is to provide you with privileged account management in all the forms that it comes and let you as the MSP choose how you want to manage your privileged accounts, who you want to grant access to where, and the ways you want to do that. A big step moving toward that is managed versus just-in-time accounts. Managed accounts are what we've always done in the past. Just-in-time accounts are what we just layered on top of that. The managed accounts are accounts that are automatically created, unique to each technician. You all know this. You've all used this. What does just-in-time layer on top of that? Just-in-time layers on top of that the ability that the technician, when they want to use that account, they click enable over here. That account is requested to be enabled, and then that account is enabled within about a minute. As part of that, a new password is set on that account. All the rights are re-added to that account, and that account, all that information is encrypted and sent back to the tech client for that person to use. And then you get the little green plus, means that account has been enabled. There's a new password set. All the rights have been added back to that account, and I can use it now. For this particular account, this is a unique account to me on Azure. The MFA setup for that account is persistent between enable and disable cycles. So not only do you have just-in-time accounts, you have MFA protected just-in-time accounts that sit normally with no rights. This is totally valid way to do things. We have the same thing on domain accounts and local machine accounts. They all work the same for the just-in-time. The major difference between managed accounts and just-in-time accounts is where they sit normally and the requirement for an internet connection. The just-in-time accounts only work if that machine is on the internet, has access to our server set, if the technician's computer is on the internet, has access to our servers or your servers if you self-host, and that whole infrastructure is up and the machine is working. That means that backups of the machine, if you restore it, the just-in-time account won't be enabled. Means that other situations like that, if you have a laptop that is, or a machine that is offline and you need access, the just-in-time account won't work because it's not on the internet. This is a general downfalling of all just-in-time accounts from all manufacturers. They need an internet connection for it to work. If you consider the internet utility and it's always there, always up, always working, just-in-time can be a very good thing for you. If you have a use case where you do not always have the internet, where everything is not always up and connected, it's a laptop that's not on the network, it's a machine at a remote oil refinery facility in the middle of Australia that doesn't have internet access all the time, but yet you still need the ability to walk up to that machine, use a privileged account to log on and fix that machine for whatever reason, the managed accounts that we have will do that and will work very well for that. The managed accounts are what we've always had, where the account exists and the password is rotated every 24 hours to protect that account. Any MFA you add to that account is always there and always working. That's the real big difference. Other than that, the agents in the management console, the agents show up as either the traditional managed accounts or as just-in-time type accounts. This agent type of managed or just-in-time can be layered onto any of the account types that we make. PAM domain, PAM local machine, Labs domain, or Labs local machine even. Even PAM Azure AD, we can layer just-in-time on top of that. That is really how we are working toward getting you the appropriate type of access, the type of account that you want for your MSP technicians to have access to any of the types of client networks that you have. The pros, real quick to recap, pros for managed accounts, they're always available. They're available online. They're available if the machine is offline. TechIDManager caches everything offline on the tech client, so they're always available. You can always get in independent of internet connection. The just-in-time accounts, they are identical, except they are left disabled by default, and then to use it, you have to have an internet connection, and the tech client has to tell the management console, which then has to tell that machine to enable that account, add the rights back to it, and do that whole process. Really, it's up to you which ones you use. You can even mix and match them. Like, we have, which ones do I mix and match? This 𝗫𝗵𝗶𝗁 account. I have a just-in-time account on a local machine on the Jeep domain, that's just in time, but my domain admin account for the Jeep org is not just in time. It's a managed account, so it's always available for me to use. Mix and match as you want. That's really what we talk about when we say we're trying to do PAM like you want it. We want you to be able to mix and match all the different types of PAM because not all of your clients are identical and not all of you are identical to each other. You all manage your privileged accounts differently. You trust your technicians different amounts. You grant them different amounts of access to different clients. Some of you have pods of technicians where these technicians access these clients. Some of you have layers where these particular set of technicians have this level of right and this higher level of technician has a higher level of right. We support all of that. And that's what we're here to help. If you have any questions about this or you want help deploying any of this just-in-time or this managed stuff, you can go to TechIDManager.com/white-glove and schedule a white glove install where one of our technical people or me will get on the phone with you, get on a video call, and will help install it and set it up. So that's really the biggest thing that has changed recently is we've added just-in-time accounts to the managed accounts. And we've added it. We haven't replaced it. So you still have the option to do both. The deployment is very straightforward. You simply tell the agent from where you logged in that it is no longer a managed agent, it is a just-in-time agent. And then that will actually convert all of the existing accounts the TechIDManager manages for you on that domain or that Azure tenant or that local machine from managed accounts to just-in-time accounts. And it will do this in about a minute. It does this live. So if you like it one way, you can try another way. If you end up not liking it, you can change back. We support all of that. In addition, support the transition between types of accounts, types of agents, and different things. We're here to help. If you have any questions, let us know. All right. That's really the pros and cons in TechIDManager of managed accounts and just-in-time accounts. Are there any questions about any of that? Minion, has anybody asked any questions? Can you see any questions?
They have not asked questions yet.
Okay, cool. It means one of two things is happening. I am super clear. What I think is happening is I am super clear about what I'm saying, and it just conveys to very smart people who are in the audience here, and it makes sense. Or two, we have some sort of technical issue and this actually isn't streaming live or the comments aren't coming in, whatever. But you can always email support@techidmanager.com and we'll answer questions also. All right. So we kind of targeted this to be like 30 minutes long and we're approximately halfway through and we're like halfway down the little line here too. So that's really the pros and cons. Next, we'll talk about the product updates that have happened recently for TechIDManager, things you might want to know about, things you might care about. Some of these are so recent they haven't gone out in a newsletter yet. Some have gone out in a newsletter. Some are real minutia. This will be boring technical stuff, but I still think it's important to cover. The first thing we're going to talk about is the logging costs in Azure for our Azure function that is our agent that runs inside Azure. When we first released that 2.5 years ago, it still runs the same way, runs the function. We've gone through a bunch of different iterations and code changes for it, improved features, improved functionality, added just-in-time accounts earlier this summer. As part of that, we have always used the built-in logging infrastructure so that you could go back and see what it did inside of the Azure tenant. But about 3 or 4 months ago, Microsoft changed the way that they were charging for that logging infrastructure. We have always cost about 20 to 30 cents per month to run inside an Azure tenant. Because Microsoft changed the way that they are charging for log analytics and logging about 4 months ago, that cost changed to about $2 per tenant. Almost all of that was the log analytics, and the rest of the large portion of it was the storage required to save those log files. Somebody pointed this out, one of our clients, so we've addressed it, and now you can see right here is the day that I changed this particular tenant from the previous logging to the current no logging version 4.043, available from TechIDManager.com/releases has different logging, better error messages, things like that. It also changes the logging cost. And you see here, we went from this rate of cost to this rate of cost. Significantly less expensive. So all of this log analytics cost will go away. Most of this storage cost will go away per tenant, and it'll be back down in the 20 cents per month range. That's, that's what it is. Microsoft changed the way we're charging. They were charging. We've addressed that so that it now costs you less. We looked and talked to several Microsoft experts about a different way to do this that meets the same criteria. We've always had the criteria that we don't have access to any of your information and that we always use zero visibility storage for all credentials that pass through our system. They pointed out there were managed apps. Managed apps would give us access into your tenant. So we've chosen not to do that. There's an enterprise thing that does something very similar to managed apps. We've also chosen not to do because it would grant us and our infrastructure access into your tenants. We've chosen not to do that for the same security reasons. We have a very strict security policy. We refuse to even be the possibility for the avenue of ingress into any of your clients. So we stayed with a basic Azure function deployed with a PowerShell script that you are in complete control of that executes on Microsoft's hardware. That does have a cost with it, and that's about 20 to 30 cents per month going forward if you install the new version of TechIDManager Azure AD, because it removes the log analytics cost, which are what got expensive. The function itself, as you can see down here, scroll back in, scroll up. The function itself costs about 5 cents to run over the last 30 days. The bandwidth was about 1 cent on the tenant here. This analytics and storage cost, they're what's going to go away. All right. If you have any questions about that, you can read the release notes at TechIDManager.com/releases or resources releases. They'll get you there. TechIDManager.Azure. The next, somebody has a question. Yes, Emily.
John would like to know, what do we need to do to upgrade the tenant?
So what you need to do to upgrade the tenant is go to Ruffian or TechIDManager.com/releases or RuffianSoftware.com/releases. Read more about the TechIDManager Azure piece. If you scroll down, you will see here the deployment PowerShell script. You save this script. If you click on it, like there's a note here that says, you'll probably need to right click and save link as. If you just click on it, it's going to open the script and you'll see it. So you'll need to right click on it, save it as something, choose where you save it, and then you open up a PowerShell window. Change directory into and then you run that PowerShell script for the new version 4.043. That will ask you to log into the Azure tenant that you want to update. It will recognize that there's an existing TechIDManager Azure installation there, and it'll ask you if you'd like to update that, and you say yes. And then the script is going to go off and update it, and that's how simple that is. You can see the contents of that script. You can read what it does. In essence, you are skipping most of the setup questions, and you are just telling it to update itself, and then it's doing essentially this line right here, and doing the update after setting a bunch of things and checking. If you want to make changes to it, it doesn't give you a choice. It just updates it if you want to update it. It assumes you want to keep everything the same. If you want to change it, there's some other options you can look at in that script to change the way it works. Like if you want to change the tenant from managed accounts to, I'm getting really sidetracked here, getting like all squirreled off answering your question. But that was the answer to your question. You run the deployment PowerShell script, it will recognize that there's an existing installation and it will update it. It's very straightforward, very simple. If you want to change that tenant to be just in time, you open up that function app and change one of the configuration variables telling it that it's just in time. There's documentation about that. All right. Another question.
Has there been an update to force user password changes to log into TechIDManager?
The PowerShell, the passphrase they log in with? No, we have not had an update to do that. That is on the release schedule for the next release of both the tech client and the management console. That should be out early December is what that's slated for. Right now, we did add some requirements. That passphrase is longer than some length and has some amount of it's always required a certain amount of 𝗕𝗁𝗐. Now it has a length requirement on it also. Yes, there's another question.
Same question applies to the web portal side.
The web portal side is on the same issue that will probably be released end of December to require password changes there. And we're also on that same release is the option to have forced MFA for logging into your tenant in TechIDManager on the management console. Just like we have the option to force technicians to use MFA to log in the tech client, we're adding that option so that you can force managers to have MFA enabled to log into the management console. We are continuing to take feedback from clients and adding that into products as we can. All right? So that was the logging costs in Azure and a slight derailment there, but I love the questions. So next, default account creation in AD. So there in Azure AD, there's been this long-standing field for a user called password not rect. PASWD not rect. Password not required. What this does is, in essence, if this flag was set on a user account in AD, it meant that all the password policy requirements that you had in place were skipped when a user set their password. It means that it's really a poorly named flag. That's what it implemented. But this meant that if a user chose on their admin account, they could set a blank password, and then they could use that password to log in, which was a blank password. TechIDManager also set the flag that said users couldn't change their passwords. It also rotated the password every 24 hours. This flag was only set on, we look like 25% of domains by default had this password not required flag set. This was it's just the way their domains were set up. We couldn't figure out a rhyme or reason why some domains set it and some did not. But now with probably the 2 versions ago from the domain service, this flag is cleared intentionally and kept cleared for all admin accounts created by TechIDManager, actually all accounts created by TechIDManager, whether admin or not, on domains. A real minutia. You would have, this came up in a security audit where one of our clients had a security audit done, and this flag was set on the TechIDManager created accounts. Change the flag, super simple to do. It's what they did on their domain. We have changed it so that all accounts, whether they're new or existing that are touched or looked at by TechIDManager, clear this flag. The only exploit for this was if you had an admin user who was malicious, they had access to an account, they could set in a blank password on that account and use it to log in. They could also, that same user could have set any password on that account, known it, and used that account to log in. So it was not a big deal, but it was something we've changed. It's one of those interesting novelties about AD that I thought was worth bringing up. It seems like we have another question. Yes.
On the user password section, any plans to add the rotating secrets support like other password management solutions?
Yes. So generally referred to as TOTP on the user passwords. Yes, we are going to add TOTP both here and on, since you're all here, a super secret shared password vault that is coming that will also be able to have TOTP rotating secrets on it. We're going to do that in several different ways. Yes is the short answer. The long answer is yes, with also doing it for a future coming shared password vault that is just not private to one person. More questions? Yes.
Is it possible to have the product delete the tech user account beyond just disabling the account in a client environment?
These accounts so Short answer, I'll give you the short answer and the long answer, and then the future answer. The short answer, no. The longer answer is we have made the technical choice not to delete those accounts because traceability in the future requires that those accounts still exist in AD, disabled. We disable them, we remove all the rights, we set a password that nobody knows on that account. So it's as inert as possible, but still exists. To delete that account, you lose all traceability on the log files, the history of what that account did. You're left with just an OUID or a UUID in the log files in the event viewer that says this GUID did this thing. You can't tie that GUID back to an individual unless you still have that account existing in AD. That's the reason we've chosen not to delete accounts and just disable them, strip all the rights, and change the password to something that nobody knows when we disable an account. But there are people whose policies and procedures say it is okay to give up that history. So we are adding the ability to delete that account from the management console. You'll say not only when you choose to disable a technician, you'll not only be able to delete them, you can choose to, at the future, in some time frame, remove the accounts from all the places they had accounts. I have a little personal heartburn with that, but if that's your policies and procedures and you are okay accepting that loss of the ability to look back and tell what happened from an auditing perspective, I'll give you that choice. I'll give you that power. As the colloquial expression goes, we're here to give you privileged account managed the way you want it. We'll give you enough rope to hang yourself if that's what you want to do with the rope. I do have an anecdotal story here. I have a friend who does a lot of cybersecurity stuff, and we had dinner probably 2 months ago, and he was telling me a story where he is currently pulling log files from 7 years ago for a Department of Justice request that they need to know what happened 7 years ago for some individuals that haven't been there for 6 years. So it's a good thing that their policy was just to disable and not delete, because they still have all that log information. If you're he's in a much more high compliance environment that they need that traceability, thus the DOJ being involved. But it's up to you. How long do you want that traceability? All that kind of stuff. It's really a good question. All right. So 3 answers there. No, we don't do it today. No, I don't think you should do it. But yeah, we're going to give you the ability to do it soon. How soon? It's on the roadmap. It's not in the next release, but it is on our roadmap to give you that ability. All right. So that is the account creation in AD with some questions and some squirreling off in different directions, which I love. The last product update I wanted to cover was client account hiding. So in the tech client, which is the piece that all technicians use, they have all these accounts. The accounts that are shown in the managed passwords are the ones with passwords that are currently rotating. There used to be a policy in the tech client. Any password that had not rotated in 7 days was automatically hidden from this managed password view. This meant that if you removed an agent from one of your clients, lost a client, they rolled, whatever, they churned, and people no longer have access to that. Or if you removed a technician's access to somewhere, that account stayed visible here for 7 days and then went away. Through a myriad of reasons, we decided that wasn't really the right way to do it. The right way to do it is everything is visible here that somebody has ever had access to or they still have access to. And if they choose not to see it, they can hide the account. And they can also choose to show the hidden accounts. This is my particular instance. I have a bunch of test and development machines in here that have come and gone over the years. Like we can see here, some of these haven't rotated since 2020. This was an old domain that got destroyed. Actually, I think I dropped it off the desk, whatever. But it's still visible by default because we changed the way that you hide accounts. So you can right click on any of these accounts, hide them, and you can also show the account if you have hidden accounts, or you can hide the hidden accounts and them not be seen. So any accounts that you've ever had access to and you still have access to, even if the credentials haven't rotated for whatever reason, server offline, that you lost access, whatever, they're still shown here. If you want to hide them, right click, hide the account. And then if you want to see the ones you've hidden, you can show hidden accounts. If you hide a current account that is active and you have active access to, and the credential rotates on it, it will unhide itself and show again. So this is to prevent technicians from being like, oh, I don't ever use Goldfish, I'm going to hide it. And then tomorrow they get assigned a ticket on the Goldfish domain, and then they're going to complain that they don't have an account there, they can't do it. Well, when the password rotated last night, it will show again. It's a minor change. It wasn't a big code change, but it really does affect the way people interact. And if you install the newest version of the tech client, which you can get from techidmanager.com/releases, tech client version 4.034, you'll see the account hiding support for managed passwords. That is what that means. So some older accounts that automatically hid themselves might show back up. If you're questioning why, that's why. Right click, hide it, and then you don't have to deal with it or see it anymore. So on a personal note, the French Canadian legacy keyboard we now have support for, which is, I think, real interesting. We also added Icelandic keyboard support. Those are of the 4 continents we've installed on. Those are the first 2 keyboards we've run into that are not US keyboards that require multiple key presses to make a particular character that we use in passwords. Like, I think for the French Canadian keyboard, you have to press some special key and another key, and then press the space bar to get a tick. It's real interesting. We took quite the dive into different keyboards when we added worldwide keyboard support with the mapping the keyboards, and then all of a sudden to find out that the characters, it's really an American moment, or English American moment, when you find out that not everybody uses all the same letters you do, and then some of those letters are hidden. It's like one of my favorite jokes. Here, I'm going to take like a total sidetrack here and tell you one of my favorite jokes. What do you call somebody that speaks, all right, Emily, what do you call somebody that speaks 3 languages?
Trilingual.
Trilingual, that's right. What do you call somebody that speaks 2 languages?
Bilingual.
Bilingual. What do you call somebody that speaks 1 language? American. Anyway, so that's the 𝗂𝗵𝗿𝗶𝗴 side right there. So that's the real big product updates I wanted to cover. We can scroll through some of them real quick also. For the mobile client on Android that's sideloaded, we're about to get that listed on the Play Store. The has support for just-in-time accounts now. So there's a button to enable a just-in-time account straight from the mobile client. The iOS has the same thing. They get released together. They're both the same. The Mac client that supports just-in-time accounts is coming. Because it's a native Mac app, there's a different development cycle on it. The domain service, the current version, the major changes are the just-in-time, the account creation flag setting we talked about. If we look back at some of the other ones that have been released more recently, that was the only one. There were several pre-releases that were released that didn't actually make it into production for various reasons. So that's, as always, techidmanager.com/releases or ruffiansoftware.com/releases. That has all the latest versions and the history of changes. We try to be as transparent as possible. You will notice that sometimes we say stuff like other non-user facing internal changes because we just don't feel like listing out all that minutia of we decided to change the way we format code. We moved a bracket from the line below to the line above. So that doesn't really affect anybody. Those type of things are what we mean when non-user facing internal changes. Or if we're adding support, like a couple releases ago, there was a note that said internal, non-user facing internal changes when we're adding just-in-time support backend stuff. We're not trying to hide anything. If you have any questions, we try to be as transparent as possible. I remember when I was in your position as an MSP buying vendor software, and I'd see release notes that said really innocuous things, and you had no idea what changed. We don't want that. We want you to know what's changing, be able to take these executables, vet them, know what to check, know what's changed. We want to be as transparent as possible. If we're ever not transparent, call us out on it, point it out. Like we'll try and change to be as transparent as possible. That's why it's one of the reasons that all the releases are public facing, They're not behind the paywall, not behind the login, all that kind of stuff. All right. So, Q&A. We've answered a couple questions. Does anybody have any more questions? Like, why is my beard growing out? Well, I got bored and I decided to grow my beard out. You know? Does anybody have a question like, why do I have a Band-Aid on the top of my head? Oh, because I'm an idiot and I nicked myself on the top of my head. All right, we'll give you like another quick story's worth to type out any questions you have. I was hiking the other day, cleared some trail. That was a lot of fun. Here's a big log across the trail. I used my axe, I chopped through it, pushed it out of the way. So if you happen to be in northwest South Carolina, the upstate of South Carolina, you're on the 𝗂𝗫𝗃 Trail, there are less trees on it today than there were last week because trail clearing is like one of my hobbies. All right. So my minion over there has not raised her hand yet, so I'm going to assume there are no more questions. And we were targeting around 30 minutes. We're at like 35 minutes. So I'll tell you what's coming up next time. We're going to do this every month. If you liked it, come back. It'll have the same kind of flavor and flair. Maybe we will start out with audio this time instead of without audio and not have the technical hiccup. Whatever. You know, we're here technically. We're not here for production value. We didn't hire a TV team to do this. It's all home office stuff. Next time, we're going to talk about multiple instances of agents. TechIDManager has always had the ability to have the primary instance of the agent, which everybody uses running, and secondary, tertiary, or quaternary instances where the agent can do multiple things. You can have one agent installed on a domain controller or an Azure tenant that runs multiple instances. It can do the default PAM stuff. It can also do lap stuff. It can do a second instance of the PAM stuff so that you can more easily do co-managed situations with differently named users. We have some clients that are using the multi-instance stuff to do multiple accounts for each technician on each domain so they have different levels of access. All of that is possible. That is what we will cover next time as the main topic. And then we'll also cover product updates that are coming next time also. So that's what we're for. We are glad to have all of you people here, existing clients, people who have seen demos, people who have read the website and care about it. We ask anybody who is an existing client to go fill out reviews. If you can on channel program. We are a vendor there now. Add us to your security stack, fill out a review on us. We are on Google, ruffiansoftware.com, fill out a review there. That would help out. Like, we love that. We love you clients. If you have any questions, TechIDManager.com, support@TechIDManager.com. Their phone numbers on the website. We are here to help. Thank you for your time here and hope to see y'all next week. Remember, TechIDManager.